Hey, everybody. Alan Weber here from the mayor's office. Still wearing my mask because we're not out of the woods yet. Please wear your mask. Please practice physical distancing. Use hand sanitizer. If you have not yet registered to get a vaccination with the state at the Department of Health vaccination site, please do that. We had a big week last week, a weekend where a lot of folks got vaccinated thanks to our health providers. I know the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is here, which is a one-shot deal, makes it fast and keeps you safe. Please, until you get vaccinated, and even afterwards, let's stay safe. We are headed for the green. I'll talk about that in a minute. And yesterday, when I looked at our numbers, we only had one new case in Santa Fe County. That's a great achievement. We're back down to 1 and 0. The day before that, we were at 5. We need to keep bending the curve and not let up. There's a new variant in the United States. It came to us from the United Kingdom. It's taking now 30 to 40% of the cases. So please, please stay vigilant, stay focused, stay disciplined, register to get your vaccination. Please, even then, wear a mask when you go out, be safe, and use hand sanitizer. We've got a couple of special guests in a minute, but first, this is Women's History Month. I wanted to recognize another great achievement by a young daughter of Santa Fe. And today is Corporal Rachel M. Real Day, and I'm going to read a proclamation in her honor. Whereas Corporal Rachel Real, a daughter of Santa Fe and a 2018 graduate of Santa Fe High School, has been recognized by the United States Marine Corps as the 2020 Marine of the Year in the Military Occupational Specialty of Administration. And whereas Corporal Real was selected for this honor from a field of 70 candidates, and whereas Corporal Real has in her brief career already demonstrated leadership and provided support for her fellow Marines, and intends to share her talents, values, and skills by becoming a drill instructor. And whereas Corporal Real is a third-generation Marine whose father attained the rank of colonel in the Army and whose maternal grandfather joined the Corps after graduating from St. Michael's High School. And whereas Corporal Real is stationed far from home in Okinawa, Japan, and deserves to know that her hometown recognizes her exemplary service and shares the Real family's pride in her. Now, therefore, I, Alan M. Weber, Mayor of the City of Santa Fe, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 9, 2021, Corporal Rachel M. Real Day. And it's all stamped and signed. We'll turn it into an attachment and send it out to her and her whole family. It's quite an accomplishment, quite an achievement, and Santa Fe is very proud of her accomplishments with more on their way. Speaking of people who are accomplished and with more on their way, I want to introduce two members of the Santa Fe Police Department. We have with us, there we go. Thank you for turning on your camera. Sergeant Montagna, thank you for joining us. And we have Officer Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. It's great of you to take some time to be with us today. Let me start with you, Sergeant. Tell folks a little bit about your background, your family. I know you're local talent, going back generations. So this is just a chance to describe a little bit about your family, and then I want to let folks know about your work. You've got some significant responsibilities that you are carrying for the city of Santa Fe, and we're very grateful to you. So as they say in Zoom land, the Zoom is yours, Sergeant.
All right. Thank you, sir. Was born and raised here. Family goes back very far generations. My great grandfather worked for the city. I'm not quite sure in what capacity, but he worked, I think it was maybe like the sewage plant or something way back in that day, I guess used to be off of Sila Road, which then I don't think it was called Sila Road because it was named after him, which I'm very proud of. I like the fact that it was named after him because he was just a regular city worker that, did his job every day, and somebody must have thought he did a great job because they named Sila Road right after him.
And he's your great grandpa.
Yes, great. He's on the maternal side. Yes.
And you have other members of your family who are part of the Santa Fe family who've worked for the city, I think. Isn't that true?
Yes, that's correct. My father retired from lieutenant from the city police department, obviously. I also had uncles that worked in Santa Fe Trails. I have an uncle that works for Public Works. So there's a lot of family history within the city of Santa Fe.
So are you the second generation police department employee or third?
I am. No,
Second.
second. Yeah.
And how long have you been with the Santa Fe Police Department?
11 years, just
Wow.
this past month. Yep.
Good for you. Well, thank you for your service. And your current assignment, give folks a quick sense of what your assignment is. And I think it's a tough one. I think you're taking on a hard path. So thank you for doing it. Tell us what it is and why it's so important, what the value is to the folks in Santa Fe.
Yeah, so I work in the special victims unit. We primarily work with sexual assault victims and abused children. That's our primary function. We are out of the Solace Center, which is a great place for anybody within the community can come here and get some advocacy, some counseling. So it's great that we work side by side with just people within the community that are here to help the victims.
And Maria Jose is quite a great leader.
Yes, definitely. So, our day-to-day functions, we're seeing the worst of humanity for the most part. But the great thing about what we do is we get to help these people, and hopefully we make a big long-term difference and put the bad people away so they can't harm anybody.
So what made you want to be a police officer? What got you interested? Was it seeing your dad? Was it a sense of service back to the community? What motivates you now? What keeps you going?
I'm not sure. I guess that's just what I've always wanted to do. I actually have this picture in my bedroom that I drew when I was like in second grade, and it's just a female police officer with a police car that says, "I want to be a police officer like my daddy." So I guess it was always ingrained in me.
That's great.
So,
I always wanted to be a shortstop, but it didn't work out for me. I was short, but not a shortstop.
I almost made that joke, but I didn't think it was appropriate.
Listen, all's fair. All's fair.
Yeah, so I just always wanted to work for the city. I also, when I graduated, I worked for a while at the sheriff's department, just in like a clerical capacity. And then I worked at the jail for 5 years.
Wow.
So I always was headed in this direction. It just took a little bit to get here, but I got here. But I'm glad I did all those other steps because I learned a lot, about the inmates and, how people end up in these situations.
A lot of bad choices sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Other circumstances play a role. We know there, for the grace of
Exactly.
God go I. So
Exactly.
imagine you're talking to a young girl or a young woman, a high school student. What would you say that would perhaps get them to want to be a police officer? How do you advise young women to join the ranks of the Santa Fe Police Department?
Well, women are actually great as police officers because we can be a lot more level-headed sometimes. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but than men can be. So we have to talk through things because we can't, we're not the strongest gender. So we have to learn how to talk through things and communicate well. And I think women have the leg up on that. All of the women in the force that we have here are phenomenal. I would go to a call with them any day of the week. They're great. And Mariah is one of them.
We'll turn to Officer Gonzalez, but thank you, Sergeant, for everything you do. And I think your comment about empathy and the ability to connect with people is certainly what brings diversity to our police department, and it's important. So thanks for doing what you do and for taking on the hard job at the Special Victims Unit. I know that's a lot of work, and it's emotional work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
And Officer Gonzalez, give us a brief a little history about yourself. You're also a local product. You're a young, I understand you were a young athlete in your prime, and people came to watch you play basketball and volleyball. Now you're a police officer. Talk about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, like Sergeant Montano, I grew up in Santa Fe, born here. Went to school, played sports, eventually was able to actually get a scholarship on sports and go to college on that and get my degree. Um, First in my family to do that, so that was pretty exciting. And right now I'm in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for about 4.5 years. Also first in my family for law enforcement, so first generation. Been with the Santa Fe Police Department for almost 2 years now. I started out with the sheriff's office and I lateraled over here.
Nice. Well, we're glad you did. Thank you for joining our police department. We appreciate you. And you are a patrol officer.
Yes, I'm currently on patrol for day shift. And I'm also a tactical medic for support ops. So I will usually get called out with SWAT, ERT, K9, bomb, anything that they need assistance with.
What did it take to become an EMT? That's one of your trainings. What did you have to do in order to achieve that?
I had to take EMT basic classes and I took them at Santa Fe Community College. You have to pass the course. It's usually half semester, and then you test at your national registry and receive your certification.
So I have done some ride-alongs as both before I was mayor and since becoming mayor, and I get to see a little bit about what Santa Fe looks like through the windshield of a police car. What do you see when you're on patrol and you're trying to keep an eye on the city and look for ways to be helpful and also look for things that might be problems before they develop? How do you do that job? It's takes a lot of focus and attention and also good judgment, I would imagine.
Yeah, it definitely takes all of those skills. I mean, being an officer for the city of Santa Fe, you get to learn to appreciate this city, but you also see kind of like the bad stuff, and you want to try to make changes to those things and just bring a more positive light to the city and the community and the people.
I think there's a lot of discussion right now in Santa Fe and around the country about do we ask our police officers to do too many things? People have talked about police officers being like a Swiss Army knife. You're expected to do everything at any moment. It could be a domestic dispute, or it could be something involving a violent act somewhere on the street. It could be a homeless person who needs help. Um, the variety of things you have to deal with is pretty daunting. From my point of view, I think you must be almost a super person to pull that off. What Talk a little bit about what you see in the course of a day, all the different calls for service you're on.
I mean, I definitely agree. There's a lot on our plate and, a lot on our shoulders to be able to respond appropriately to different things. I mean, we can go to someone who needs assistance with, different resources. Someone might need to go to the hospital. Someone might be having a domestic violence incident where they need help. There's calls with children. There's so many variety, like, and a list of things that, it probably we couldn't cover.
In the course of your shift, do you have any idea how many calls for service you would be asked to respond to on an average day? Is it just constant stream that shows up on that computer in your vehicle?
Yeah, it's constant, and you're at one point you're trying to respond to all these calls, but then you have to also make sure that if you get dispatched to a call, you're giving your full effort on that one incident to make sure you help that person, or you just give everything you can on that one call, but you're also worried about responding to everything else that's going on in the city.
So what if I love the fact that you're both here, and I really appreciate it. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will put you on the spot anyway. If there's one thing you think people in the city of Santa Fe need to know about their police department that they may not know, what do you think would be the message you'd like them to take away from our conversation today about the Santa Fe Police Department? Whether it's the kind of training you have, the kinds of calls you get, the kind of people who work with you side by side every day, what it's like to have grown up here and now be a police, part of the police department that tries to keep the city safe. Sergeant, I'll go with you first. Give us kind of one takeaway for everybody to know about the Santa Fe Police Department.
I think the biggest thing is to remember that we're not robots, we're human beings that have emotions and feelings as well. And especially on patrol, these guys are running and gunning all day long, nonstop. They have to eat, they have to laugh, they have to have good times too. And they're not robots. They're human beings. One day one minute they can go to a call where it was very tragic and they might have been somebody who lost their life. In the next day, within that next hour, they're going to a response of a burglary and they're having to change their mindset. So, I would just say to have a little compassion for us, just the same way we have compassion for the citizens, and to know we genuinely care. Like, we really, really do care. We don't put our lives on the line every day because we don't. And I think the citizens need to know that.
That's great. Thank you, Sergeant. And thanks for being here and thanks for being part of our police department. I'm genuinely grateful to you. I think it's a lot of service that you provide. And as you say, you're not a machine or a robot. You are dealing with real life situations. And in your case in particular, you're seeing some tough stuff. You have to keep your humanity and your sense of compassion intact while you deal with hard realities of life in any community in Santa Fe right now. And it's great that you grew up here. I think that's special. That gives it and your family's history is terrific. So thank you. How about you, Officer Gonzalez? You have the entire city listening to you right now, tens of thousands of people. And even though you're on mute, what would you unmute yourself and then tell us what would you like people to know about the City of Santa Fe Police Department, your service, your colleagues, how they can help you help them even more. You're out there to do good work, to protect and serve. How do you want them to think about your work and your relationship with the people in Santa Fe?
I think Sergeant Montano hit it right on the spot. We're doing our best and we are human beings. Sometimes we don't have the answers, but we're going to do our best to try to get those answers for, the people who are asking for help or who are asking assistance. So like Sergeant Montano said, like, we do care and this is our community. So.
Well, thank you. I think it's clear you guys are amazing. I can tell you that since I became mayor, I've learned a lot about policing. I've learned a lot about the challenges that our police officers face every single day and the demands. I think last year there were something like 97,000 calls for service in the course of 1 year. And that's a lot of asks for our police department. I think our department has phenomenal policies. I've read the use of force policy. I've looked at the ethics statement that you all subscribe to. We filled out the 8 can't wait checklist that President Obama put out after the George Floyd incident. After the murder of George Floyd, we checked every box on the 8 can't wait list, and including the EMT, providing immediate medical attention to suspects and anyone who is injured in the course of the work of our police department. So I love going to your ceremonies. I've been to all the graduation ceremonies. I've been to the promotion ceremonies. I think you care deeply. I think you do a great job, and I really, really appreciate your taking time today to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a police officer, a sergeant, a patrol officer in Santa Fe. You set a terrific example, and I wish you nothing but safety and good health for yourselves and your families. Take care of yourselves. So thank you both. And
Thank you.
I hope to see you out at police headquarters someday. We'll have a chance to actually be in the same room at the same time. Thank you both. Appreciate you. Stay well. Well, thanks everybody for watching today with our webcast. That was a little special to have our two guests from the police department. They're quite remarkable, and I think they represent the city with great character and great training, great abilities, and a great sensibility. And I think they go hand in hand with Corporal Rachel Real, who also is standing up for Santa Fe over in Okinawa, Japan, recognized as the Marine Corps 2020 Marine of the Year. A quick word about where we are with COVID. We are making progress. It looks like tomorrow we will get to green. We've been talking about getting to green. We are now getting to green. But we can't let our guards down. We can't take it for granted. We have to keep wearing masks, using sanitizer, abide by the COVID safe practices. At the same time, there'll be some new opportunities. We'll open up the GCCC ice rink on Saturday, and that information will be on the GCCC website. There will be vaccinations rolling out across the city to keep people safe. That's important. We've been talking to the Department of Health about getting vaccinations in our two most critical zip codes, 87505, 87507. We want everybody to be safe. Those have been our hotspots historically. We're working to get more vaccine to places where people have been more frequently affected by COVID directly. And as we come through COVID, please remember to shop local. Put your money where your home is, right here in Santa Fe. We are making our way, hopefully, out of COVID. If we stay safe and get vaccinated, we'll be able to this summer, this spring and summer, begin to see more openings, more fun, more festivals, more markets, more outdoor activities. But for our local merchants, our mom and pop shops, it's been tough. So buy local, shop local, take out local. You can go sit in a restaurant safely now if you practice COVID safe practices. Please wear your mask. Please stay safe. Please remember that while we are making progress and going green is really important, we don't want to backslide from green and go backward. So stay safe, wear your mask, shop local, take care of yourself and your family, take care of the community. Together, we will all take care of Santa Fe. If you see a police officer, thank them for their service, thank them for their hard work and for their caring about our community. If you see any of our city employees, give them your thanks. It's been a long, hard pull for them, trying to keep the city looking good, working well, delivering services. It's time for a thank you. A generosity of spirit will keep us going and refresh us as we head into the spring and summer and then the fall. So until I see you later this week, please stay safe. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your family and our community. All of us together will keep Santa Fe safe. Take care and thank you.